We begin with breaking news in Boston, a live look at Dewey Square, where tensions were rising this evening. Earlier, police and protesters collided.
And it apparently all started when someone brought a sink. Let's get right to 7's Krista Delkamp. She's in Boston for us. More of the story. Krista?
Well, I can tell you right now, things seem to be pretty calm, but as you mentioned, things got pretty tense a bit earlier today when we heard that someone did try to bring a sink right here into this Occupy Boston encampment. According to protesters here on the scene, they demanded to know from police why they were blocking the sink from going in. I'm told the police actually took possession of this sink, and then people formed a barricade around a police vehicle. Now, in the end, I'm being told from a protester here that there was one person injured, possibly a woman, and police are now confirming that 3 people were taken into custody for disorderly conduct. Again, police here on the scene not exactly saying too much about the circumstances here. Most of our information is coming from protesters. So once again, we do have 1 person injured, 3 people taken into custody for disorderly conduct. And as protesters here see it, they have every right to be here after a judge here in Boston upheld a temporary injunction barring the city from evicting the Occupy protesters. On the city side, they see it as a health hazard. So we have these 2 sides possibly clashing here tonight. Of course, we're staying on top of this story. We're bringing more as we get it. Live in downtown Boston, I'm Krista Delkamp, 7 News Night Team.
7 News.
Anger boils over as Occupy Boston protesters scuffle with police. That confrontation led to 3 arrests.
This after nearly 100 demonstrators surrounded a police wagon at the campsite. 7's Steve Cooper is live at Boston's Dewey Square to tell us what happened. Steve?
A lot of police still around here, even at this hour. All is quiet this morning, but there were some tense moments here in Dewey Square overnight. As you mentioned, 3 protesters that were arrested are headed to court today, and it was all over a kitchen sink.
As many as 100 protesters form a blockade around a sink brought into the Occupy Boston camp.
Well, I designed and built this sink so we could have a clean and sanitized system for the kitchen that has been serving the public and the camp.
Cell phone video shows police taking the sink away in a prisoner transport vehicle. Protesters say the sink was brought in to try to live up to the cleanliness standards set by the city.
As soon as the sink came in, the police stopped it from coming in, blocked it, and then tried to take it away. And that's when we said, no, why are you taking this? Tell us what law you're upholding. And no one could tell us.
Boston police called in extra officers to help out. In the end, police made several arrests. Protesters saying one of their own was injured.
And then police coming in here and blocking a sink. I don't understand what's very controversial or safety issues with a sink. It doesn't make sense to me.
Those arrested have been charged with disorderly conduct. They will be arraigned later on today in Boston Municipal Court. In the meantime, a judge says she'll decide by December the 15th whether or not the city actually has the legal right to evict the protesters from here in Dewey Square. For now, they are allowed to stay. We're live in Boston this morning. Steve Cooper, 7 News Today in New England.
This is 7 News at noon.
Chaos at the Occupy Boston encampment. Protesters and police clash over a kitchen sink, leading to 1 arrest. Thanks for being with us. I'm Ann Allred. A demonstrator tried to bring that sink into the camp last night. When police tried to take it away, things got heated. 7 Steve Cooper live at Boston Municipal Court with more on our top story.
Yeah, and so from camp to court, and all attention shifts to the courthouse here, Boston Municipal Court this afternoon. 3 protesters have been arrested in Dewey Square since last night. Now, 1 is being arraigned here in court right now, and we know the trouble last night started over a kitchen sink.
I'm not going to allow them to put up a kitchen sink in the occupied area of the city of Boston.
Boston Mayor Tom Menino may be running out of patience when it comes to Occupy Boston protesters occupying Dewey Square.
We allow them to stay there for the last 2 months. And now, we have to rule. I am mayor of all the people, not just 200 people who live on a little piece of dirt in the city of Boston. I want to make sure that we're putting the rules and regulations of the city of Boston in place at this time.
And so last night, police arrested 26-year-old Gary Williams of Quincy after they say he shoved a police officer, ripping the officer's radio right off his belt. All this after protesters attempted to set up a sink at the encampment.
Well, I designed and built this sink so we could have a clean and sanitized
system for the kitchen that has been serving the public and the camp.
But police say protesters aren't allowed to bring anything considered a building material into the camp. And that's why when the sink showed up, as seen here in this cell phone video, it was taken away by officers.
As soon as the sink came in, the police stopped it from coming in, blocked it, and then tried to take it away.
Meanwhile, the mayor, who's becoming concerned about public safety issues in Dewey Square, is waiting for a judge's ruling over legal issues surrounding the city's evicting protesters at some point from Dewey Square.
Public safety is a real issue down there.
And if that's the case, then don't you want them to leave?
I'd like to see, they want to leave. If the judge lets me do it, I'm waiting for the judge. I don't want to be in violation of court order.
We're told the suspect in court this afternoon has 2 other open matters, and prosecutors want his bail revoked. 2 other protesters were arrested. They will be summoned to court at a later date. In the meantime, the mayor is waiting to hear from that judge and her decision. She's expected to make a decision sometime before December 15th. We're live in Boston this afternoon. Steve Cooper, 7.
Occupy Boston protesters and Boston police sinking in. Officers clashed with protesters last night because someone brought a kitchen sink into the encampment. One person was arrested, and this may be just the beginning of a very long battle. 7's Victoria Block has the very latest now from Boston.
That arrest and the arraignment this morning, just the tip of the iceberg here in Boston. Really, the big story here is that relations are souring between Occupy Boston and the city, and both sides are digging in. An angry mob confronts police who try to remove a kitchen sink being brought into the Occupy Boston encampment. People pushing and shoving, leaving a bad vibe at the campground.
There's a danger to the community.
And Gary Williams behind bars, facing 4 charges, including assault and battery on a public employee, a Boston police officer.
The suspect grabbed the lieutenant with his right hand and ripped the lieutenant's police-issued radio from his duty belt. In doing so, he damaged the radio.
And it's beginning to damage relations between the city and occupiers, who've been pushing the envelope and ignoring the city's rules and regulations.
They've had a huge issue with us bringing in winterized tents and other different resources that'll keep us safe.
But the mayor, who says they have a right to be in Dewey Square, says they don't have a right to defy the law.
They can't just keep on rubbing it in our face and say, we're going to do all this stuff and you guys are bad.
But after last night's confrontation and both sides waiting for a judge's ruling on whether the movement can stay in the square, temperatures are dropping, tensions are rising, and a line has been drawn on the Greenway.
We have a lot of members of the community who live there full time, and we do need to support those members.
The mayor says Occupy Boston can remain here for now as he waits for a judge's ruling, but he says they cannot build their own city. For now, reporting live in Boston, I'm Victoria Block, 7 News.
A fight over a sink causing the relationship between Occupy Boston and the city to go down the drain. Tensions continue to rise in the camp tonight.
Protesters say they are not going anywhere. The 19's Diana Rocco live in Dewey Square tonight with the latest.
Up until this point, the city says they felt they've been pretty lenient with these protesters, but that kitchen sink is where they draw the line. With mounting problems and plummeting temperatures, many are wondering just how much longer the protesters here will hold out.
A cold December night at the Occupy Boston camp, but so far protesters are not backing down. An angry mob attacks officers in Dewey Square after police remove a kitchen sink from the encampment. The riot only further evidence tensions are rising between protesters and the city.
There's a danger to the community.
26-year-old Gary Williams was arrested and charged with assault and battery on a police officer.
The suspect grabbed the lieutenant with his right hand and ripped the lieutenant's police-issued radio from his duty belt.
Police say protesters are not allowed to bring building materials into the camp. As tempers flared on the Greenway, tolerance is waning for protesters ignoring city rules and regulations.
They've had a huge issue with us bringing in winterized tents and other different resources that'll keep us safe.
And for the mayor, who has allowed them to stay, patience for the blatant disregard for the rules has run out.
I'm not going to allow them to put up a kitchen sink in the occupied area of the city of Boston, and we're looking for the judge to give us some clarity of what's going on, what we can do and what we can't do.
As both sides now wait for the ruling, the movement has staked its claim. Even though temperatures are dropping, they have no plans to leave.
We'll bring in what we need to support ourselves and what we need to keep us alive and well rested and healthy.
So no word on when the judge's ruling will come down. The mayor says the protesters can stay for now. What they cannot do is build a city here. We're live in Boston tonight. I'm Diana Rocco, 7 News.